Welcome over to Automotive World, everyone. I'm your host, my name is Stream. We are back. We have another interesting story today. We're actually going to be looking at Ford's newsroom, and we have an article from Car and Driver because we have a bit of an interesting story here with Ford. We have some Q1 quarter one earnings results, and we have a bit of mixed results, some which you may expect and some which you may not. We're going to focus more so on the EV results, which didn't turn out so well, but we're going to still go through all of them. Ford's first quarter revenue was $42.8 billion. That's a net income of $1.3 billion. So overall, Ford had a pretty steady quarter. Ford saw some huge growth, full year growth for 40% between the Ranger trucks, F-150 trucks, and their hybrid vehicles as well. They also saw a big jump in revenue in terms of Ford's commercial customers, a 36% jump with high demand for Super Duty work trucks, including the transit vans and other physical software in their apps. Really, really good results there. In terms of the company declared second quarter regular dividends of 15 cents per share. If we come down here, we've got a chart here. For the first quarter, to summarize what's happening here, because I did read this article earlier, the ICE vehicles and their electrified vehicles did very well. Their hybrids saw year-over-year growth. The ICE vehicles sold extremely well. That $42.8 billion is up 3% year-over-year. Vehicle shipments did decline slightly. The company also has increased revenue in each of the past 3 years. A lot of that is due to just external factors, parts and things. But a lot of it too even though the vehicle shipments declined, the revenue did go up because we do have to remember with Ford's, with all their software and the Blue Pass and things like that, Ford does now have a lot of ways to make revenue, not only at the time of purchase, but throughout the vehicle's lifespan. So even though shipments did decline slightly, revenue was still up in each of its past 3 years, and they expect to do so in the full year of 2024, which is really, really good to see in terms of financial aspect. The operating cash flow was $1.4 billion. Adjusted to free cash flow was use of $500 million. Very, very, strong results there. We have here the Ford Blue, Ford Marley, and Ford Pro. On our Ford Pro, they did extremely well. First quarter revenue of $18 billion, which is up 36% altogether. Really, really good to see that, and they did exceed their margins as well. And that was also due to a lot of the Super Duty pickup trucks that they have. Really, really good to see those. Their transit vans were up. And that's also a big help, like they say here, from the Postal Service buying 9,250 of those e-transit vans. That's through the end of the 2024 model year. Really, really good to see that. Also, they did sell some Lightning pickup trucks and Mustang Mach-E's. However, when it comes to EVs here, this is where it kind of gets a little bit kind of wary, because when we come down here to Ford's Model E, their EVs as a total revenue was down. Wholesale declined. There was just significant pressure from just the market, just buyers, being apprehensive, not being in the position to buy. And also they put a lot of, things on their part suppliers and things like that. So even though Ford did very well for their quarter one, in terms of their Model E and essentially their electric division, they lost $1.3 billion. And those costs that were flat year over year, they do expect those costs to improve going forward, which may be offset by the top line pressure. However, when you go down, when you're losing, and we've seen this with all EVs, this is not with just Ford, and we've seen it with the dealers too. We know dealers who sell EVs for all automakers, they lose a ton of money. They lose a ton of money on the lot. And Ford, to lose $1.3 billion overall, it's not really a good thing to see that. And we come over here, we're going to go to our Car and Driver article here, just because we have a little bit more in-depth detail here. So essentially their Model E division dropped 84%. The revenue for their electric car division dropped 84%. That's not really good. That's going to equate with $130,000 basically on every EV it sold lost in that first quarter. And that's going to include for the Mustang Mach-E, that is going to include for the F-150 Lightning. We can see here, like I said, they, that 1.3 billion that was there, they blamed it on those industry-wide pressures, but to lose, you could say, $130,000 per vehicle, and that's approximately only 10,000 EVs that they sold. If you do put all the numbers together with the Transit vans, the Mustang Mach-E's, and the Lightnings, it's about 10,400 that they actually sold. But if you put it on that estimate there, I mean, before the interest or taxes into the equation, I mean, that's a big amount of money to lose on any vehicle, especially too because all the vehicles that they're selling don't get up to that MSRP. So I mean, they're losing more than what they're not only making the vehicle for, but what they're selling the vehicle for. And that is huge, because it's not like they're losing 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 on every vehicle. They're losing a lot of money on these vehicles. Like I said, that revenue just makes it drop. It's an 84% drop compared to the first quarter of last year. Sales only being down 20% from relative same period in the year prior. But this is also the other reason too. Because of this, we have seen, I did a video on it also as well, we did see Ford Lightning, F-150 Lightning prices come down. They're still not to the level which most buyers can, where it's necessarily attainable to them. But this is also one of the bigger reasons that we have seen those EVs get cheaper and cheaper, because Ford is losing a lot of money on these vehicles, and Ford is going to continue to lose a lot of money on these vehicles just until EVs, are, have the, the chance and are actually, in the right position to become the norm. There's just a number of reasons why EVs just aren't there for most people yet, and we're gonna see those prices come down, as the revenue is down, wholesale and just, consumer to consumer. It's not looking very good for Ford on the EVs. They did generate, though, in terms of their credit, they did generate before tax $326 million, and that was used vehicle auction values and lease returns, which those rates continue to normalize. But for the full year 2024 outlook, it looks pretty good for them. They're still going to be up, but they are really, those EVs are just, it is a money pit for them right now. And their services, like using the Ford, the Blue app and things like that, they have seen a lot of gains financially with those, but the EVs are really just absolutely killing them. And we can see that here, that's even before taxes and before credits. Like I said, Ford does expect this to even out. But it's just, I'm not sure. They're expecting it to even out by the end of the year, but I don't know if it's going to even out by the end of the year. I would think it's going to be a little bit longer. And this is, they still remain the global leader. It's just, the EVs are really killing them, because we can see it here. The hybrid vehicles were up 36%, and that was for the F-150, that was for the Ford Maverick. This was for, their gas and hybrid vehicles did extremely well. And even with that loss, they still remain the global truck leader, producing more than 500,000 of them worldwide between F-150s, Super Duties, Rangers, and Mavericks in both, gasoline, electric, and electrified versions. But those EVs are just really killing Ford right now in terms of financially. So it'll be really interesting to see, what's going to happen here. Like I said, we already saw prices come down for the Ford Maverick. I did a video on it a little bit ago. We had some trims go down about $5,500. It was still, those prices were still for most people pretty unattainable in my opinion. However, I think with these numbers, we have seen Ford pause their, investments on EVs in terms of with the factories and things like that. I think it's going to be a bit interesting to see if they're going to cut production even more to try to, kind of bridge that gap there. But I think as we saw those vehicles get cheaper, I think we're going to see more of that. And I think we might even see, and probably will even see, more price cuts to come from the future for its EVs. So it's a bit of good news here for Ford, but also a bit of bad news. Overall, like I said, they are up. They still did do really, really good, and they are on track through the full year of 2024 to be up. But like I said, those EVs are just really a money pit for them right now. So it's going to be interesting when we see in their next quarter what the earnings are and how the EVs actually do. But that's going to be our story for today. So thanks for watching, everyone.